All right, so this is the second interview in New York, but the first one with video. We got visuals now, and I'm here in the Bronx with Bronx native Hector Carvajal, who is an entrepreneur. His company is called Don Carvajal Café. He makes specialty coffee and is focused on creating equity in the Bronx and creating sustainable coffee. Hector, tell me all about your business, man.
So we basically partner with farms across the world to bring you sustainably produced coffee, right? And what do I mean by that? You know, people that look to strive to use less water in their production, to reuse the coffee pulp as fertilizer and all these things, not use pesticides and herbicides and all the things that bring a million diseases to our people, right? Because it's all about yield. So it's all about producing an organic, natural product, you know, roasting it here locally, fresh, and distributed right within that freshness, right? Within the peak of that freshness. Probably a lot of foreign things that I'm saying right now, but I'll get into it.
There are people that understand that too.
Right, so I'll get into it a little later, but just using the industry terminology, right? But we basically partner with farms abroad. We bring coffee here. If we're not partnered with a farm like Brazil directly, then we connect with importers who bring it here. We bring it and roast it in Queens, Long Island City.
Nice.
But as of right now, you know, we're going to be moving everything to the Bronx, to the Boogie Down, literally behind this building right here.
Yes, sir.
Hunts Point, we're bringing the first public roasting room and cafe to the Bronx. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be monumental, you know. So my company is all about creating more equity, creating more opportunities, and showing people, my people, that if I did it, you can do it too. Because that's how I got started. I saw somebody else do it, and I said I could do it too. And it's all about paying it forward and bringing it back to the community.
Yeah.
You know, it's that sense of buying back the block. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We produce the coffee, but we don't really yield the profits of it or really the equity behind it. And I think that our people break their backs for it, but we're not the ones benefiting from it.
Right.
Yeah.
So going all the way to the beginning, you were born in the Dominican Republic,
Right.
And then you came here to the Bronx when you were 8. Talk about some of those earliest memories of when you were on your grandfather's farm, and also like the stories that your mom was able to tell you about him.
Yeah, I would say dating it back to the farm, I was a full-blown country kid, you know, like a Dominicano at heart in the fields. You know, they were harvesting squash, and my mom would be like, oh, go get some for like lunch. And I would just book it and just pull up at the farm. And I'm like, Theo, let me get this, and that. And I'm walking back with like a bunch of squash or watermelons, you name it, plátanos, bro. Like, it was one of those things where we lived off the land.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we farmed our own things. Like if we needed something from the stores because it wasn't ready from the fields. You know what I mean? But it was a very beautiful experience. You know, he passed when I was very young, so I don't remember him mentally, right? But I do remember him in an imaginary way, because my mom and my brother and all my uncles always tell me stories. I was always curious about him. What kind of man was he? And at this point, I feel like I am a reincarnation of him. You know what I mean? So
That's
he was
beautiful.
he was very family oriented, very friendly, loved to help people. My mom tells me, it's like, I see you in him, kind of thing. So I always hear these things, and that's what I remember of him based on other people's perspective and experiences with him. But it was a very beautiful experience. I always went back from time to time. I got to spend 6 months there one time.
Oh wow, that's
year.
nice.
Yeah, my mom sent me back because I was being a bad kid, but it's the typical Dominican punishment. But it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's my experience with DR, my grandfather. Yeah.
What about, tell me a little bit more about those 6 months, like when you were out there. How old were you when you
I was like 16, 17, more or less, 16, 17. I wasn't being the greatest of students here, and my mother sent me back so I could learn and remember what it was like back home, to know the struggle, right? Because I forgot about the struggle, right?
Yeah.
And the Bronx struggle versus the Dominican Republic struggle are two different struggles, right? But, you know, I went back and I realized, you don't get a free Metro card to go to school. You don't get no free breakfast. I mean, you do get breakfast, but you don't get lunch at those schools. There's no tutoring around. Like, you know, it's so many different resources. There's no scholarships. But I realized the disparity that people go through back home. And I was working in onion field, right? So my mom, I had ran out of money. And I was like, Mom, can you send me like some money for what? For food? Because you have food at home. My aunt would cook But I just wanted money for like a drink, a refresco, or chips or something, or go with my cousin to the computer center because we obviously had no computers, right?
Yeah.
You had to go to a computer center. Yeah, she was like, "Oh, if you want money, you gotta go work for it." And I was like, "Okay, sure. Like, I don't mind working for my money.
Right.
What's the job? Oh, you gotta go pick onions on your uncle's fields." And I was like, "Okay, sure. Like, what am I gonna say? No." So then next morning I get woken up at like 5 something in the morning from the roosters, kiki, and then my cousin's like, "Yo, get up, it's time to go." And I wear a short sleeve, and he's like, "I'm gonna let him rock." And I'm like, "You gonna let me rock for what?" He's like, "You're gonna see." Then we get to the fields, the sun is blazing.
Oh my God.
Blazing.
Yeah.
And we're there all morning and some of the afternoon. And at some point, I met this lady. It was her and her 3 kids. So the way it was functioning, you ever seen those Home Depot buckets, the orange ones?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Just a bucket, right? So then the way people used to get paid was like 10 cents per one of those buckets of like onions to pick it. So you got to pick the onion from the ground, cut the stem of the top, and then clean it, and then you go to the pile, drop off the bucket. So then I was asking her, like, "Why are you here with these 3 kids? Shouldn't they be in school?" It was a school day, right? And she looked at me. She's like, "Well, we all need to work for us to produce enough money to sustain ourselves." And then I was like, "Wow, that's tough, man." And then I sat there and I was like, "Man, I'm asking this lady, why aren't these kids in school? I'm here because I didn't go to school." So it was a hypocritical moment for me. And that's when it hit. It was like, wow, maybe education is the way for me to go, because as a young teenager, I wasn't really going to school. I was cutting classes, and I didn't really have any values to myself. What job am I going to get without a high school diploma? Being an uneducated Dominican black male in the Bronx. You know what I mean? But that was my moment of spark. You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, let me get my ish together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let me come back and let me actually go to school and let me add values to myself. So that experience in the R, I saw extreme levels of poverty. I saw people not eat for a day, and people walk around barefoot because they couldn't afford slippers, and kids fishing at the river, not for fun, but to eat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So seeing those extreme levels of poverty was like, wow, like it really is tough. The struggle is real. People think the struggle is real in the Bronx. It is real for that world that you're exposed to. But when I went back home, it was like, oh, I thought the Bronx was real.
Like culture shock.
Right. It was like a culture shock because it was a different level of real. There's different levels of real. You know, like the realness was real. And that was the experience, man. I realized a lot of things. I learned a lot, and I came back ready to take over the world.
Don Carvajal Café started as like a college dorm room project, correct?
Right.
So tell me a little bit more about that. Like when that kind of, I think you said that you had a cup of coffee and it was really good coffee.
Right,
you were
right.
like, this isn't Bustelo. Like
This
the
facts.
Bustelo is the only coffee that I kind of drink actually. So, but what was that like, and how did that kind of start to, the idea started formulating?
Yeah, I'll start with 2 things. So it's okay if you drink Bustelo, right? We all started with that. It's one of those things where you're gonna only go for what you're exposed to.
Okay.
I don't blame nobody, right? I actually thank Bustelo, Starbucks, Dunkin', and I don't typically say their names. But think about it. They did a lot of legwork for me to come in and be like, try the better coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, I can see the difference because they've had the other brands, you know what I mean? But I would say the other part is, maybe there's just something to college dorm projects. Facebook was a dorm project. You know what I mean? Mark Zuckerberg, right?
That's true.
And it's one of those things where I had a really good cup of coffee. I got curious. The person who brewed it up and gave it to me was telling me, oh, this cafe is de Colombia, and it's growing at this elevation above meters above the sea level, and it's in this mountain in el eje cafetero de Colombia. And I was just like, wow, the coffee axis, what meters above sea level, and all these things. And I was just like, I guess coffee is more complicated than I thought, right? Or interesting, right? Because there's 2 different types. There's conventional coffee, there's gourmet, and there's specialty. And this is specialty. This is like $20 a cup kind of coffee. I was like, whoa, for a cup, $20? How much is the bag? So I started Googling, got curious, and it just felt like I was reading about my life back home. It was like, wow, I'm reading about the country, the agriculture, the planting, the fertilizing, the weeding, growing things. It was agriculture. That's all I saw growing up. You know what I mean? So I felt like I was in my grandfather's farm reading about this. It was like, wow, this is just like another crop. Because agriculture is it's very similar. It's soil, it's planting, it's maintaining, it's watering, it's all these things. It's just a different crop every time. And I got curious. That was during winter break when I had the good cup. Went back for the spring semester, and in the spring semester I had a class project, and I told my professor, listen, we have a semester project to do a business plan and a marketing plan. can I do it on this thing? You know, I was already curious about this coffee thing that I started Googling and researching and watching videos for. I have some research on it because I've been looking at numbers. I found out that coffee is a $300 billion industry, and I was like, I don't need the whole pie. I just need 1%. And when you look at it like that, it's like you would generate $3 billion a year, right? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I've always thought like that. I've always thought like that. You know, I don't need the big thing. I just need the small pie. So then I was just curious. Told my professor if I can do it. He said if your team members are okay with it, sure, why not? So I pitched it to them. They were very supportive, and they were like, yeah, we could do this. You know what I mean? It's a fun project. And if at the ending of the semester you decide to make it a business, that's cool. Sure, we'll love to help you. And we did it. Ending of the semester, man, we presented it. We walked around with, you know, cafecitos, with a tray, the bandeja.
Oh, that's so sick.
Every student, it was like 50 students. We gave them a cup. Professor got to try some. We brought some real bags with the logo, printed labels, roasted coffee. Like I took that project very seriously. Ending of the class, we presented it. It was cool. Everybody loved it. The clap was you know when people clap, that's how I knew we won, because it was a competition between everybody.
Yeah, of course.
It was like the top one, top two, top three. And then somebody raised their hand. They were like, yo, like, I see you guys have bags of coffee at the front with the logo, with the label, roasted beans. Can I buy that? I was like, yeah, sure. They're like, how much? I'm like, well, the presentation said $17.95. No taxes included because it's a food item. And they pulled out a 20. They just gave me the 20 to keep the change. I was like, somebody just gave me $20 for a bag of coffee. My mom's used to buying Bustelo 2 for $5. Mm-hmm. 2 bags for $5. And here you are getting half of that amount for 4 times the price. That's insane. Yeah. That's wild. And in that moment, you know, I just thought about it. I was like, wow, I read one chapter, proof of concept. Like, you want to know if something works? Get somebody to buy it. You want to know if something's a good idea? Get somebody to buy it. Mm-hmm. That's when you know there's a market for it. Yeah. Once somebody buys something that you came up with, that's when you know it's a real thing. Because there's somebody out there willing to buy that and pull money out their pocket and be like, here. Now, if there's one person like that, how many more are there? You know what I mean? There's niche markets, which is a small amount, but niche markets can be big.
Yeah, they really can.
You know what I mean?
Think about how many people are in this world, you know?
Right. So it's one of those things where once we presented it, somebody raised their hand, bought a bag, somebody else raised their hand. The professor, I gifted him one. He really enjoyed it. Yeah, after that, I went to my dorm and I reserved the company. I was like, I'm going to reserve this name, Carvajal Café, LLC. Let's get it.
Nice.
I pulled up on Instagram like, yo, what's up, guys? I'm selling coffee now, and stuff like that. It was more like, you know, I'm selling sustainably grown, freshly roasted coffee kind of thing. I remember it was a really good pitch. You know, I'm not doing it justice right now, but it was a really good pitch.
No, yeah. I mean, and also, like you said, like a bunch of college dorm projects. Def Jam also started in there.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. So,
you know? So I think that's awesome. And then moving forward, like, you know, how long ago was that actually?
That was April 2019.
2019.
When I launched the company, April 2019.
Wow,
yeah.
So it's been 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Basically. And you have been able to reach a $60,000 goal that you had on Kickstarter. Yeah, Congratulations on that, by the way, because that's huge. I'm very curious to know, like, kind of what was going on in your head, like, before you were thinking of doing the Kickstarter, and then also, like, when you reached that goal. Because a lot of people can be kind of intimidated by, like, trying to present, you know, like, they have a vision, they have a clear vision with all, like, the logistics planned out, but, like, they lack the resources, you know, or they need backers to help them out. Right. And that can I think that can be a little bit intimidating. I'm intimidated to do something like that. And so, like, before, like, when you're kind of formulating the idea and you're doing the research, you said you spent a year doing research of which Kickstarters worked, which didn't, you know, like, talk to me a little bit about that process too. And then the final amount, like, being met that day when you were, I think you're on IG Live. I was on live. Yeah, man.
I was on live like, whoa.
I think, wasn't the last amount, I think it was like 10 G's, I think was the last.
It was 20.
20 Jesus.
Because the max you could drop is 10. So he did 10 and 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, you know, my mentality is this, right? If you don't shoot your shot, how are you ever going to know if you made it? Mm-hmm. Right? I like baseball. If you never take the swing, how are you ever going to know if you hit the ball? Yeah. If it looks like a good pitch and it looks feasible and you think you got it in you, take the swing. If you like a girl and you like her and you don't think she might like you back, you never know if you don't ask her on a date. Yeah. It's applicable to anything, right? You won't get the contract if you don't walk in there and pitch it. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you want an opportunity, if it seems feasible, do your research. So for Kickstarter, when I said it took me a year to put that together, right? I did some research on it. I looked at Kickstarters that worked, Kickstarters that didn't work. I had some team members help me do the research, and we came up with everything, right? We put it together. We literally nitpicked. I was like, that looks like it worked. That looked like it didn't work. Why did they fail? Why did they succeed? Let me combine it. You know what I mean? And my mentality was, if they did it, I could do it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's my philosophy for my life. I like showing people, because I a lot of the things that I do is because I saw other people do it. And I said, if they did it, I could do it. And the same way I got that, I like to project it to my people. It's like, listen, I'm paying it forward. I did that. You could do it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's all about doing research, understanding what you're doing. Sometimes we do, or most of the times, we actually lack resources in our community. But there's something called the internet. Man, and you could use this to be on Instagram posting selfies, or you could use it to be on Google or scholarly resources, finding real information, the meaty stuff. And that's what it is for me. Everything that I've built has been me finding my own resources, whether it's nonprofits in the community that help you, whether it's grants to fund something, or something called Kickstarter, where you can create a campaign and make a really nice, eloquent video, project your story very well, and raise $60,000 for what? To build an equitable space in the South Bronx. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it's all about how you use the internet. You got to use it for the right things. You could use it for whatever you want, but if you use the internet right, it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, same thing with, I mean, like social media in general too,
Right.
because like a lot of people will say like social media is bad, and like it can be bad if you're not using it to your advantage or
Right.
anything, you know? You can spread the word so easily. I mean, that's how I found out about you.
Right.
Through social media.
Right.
You know? So I think that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think about it all the time, and when I looked at last year's revenue, I was like, wow, we did that off of social media. You know what I mean? When I looked at the Kickstarter, and this year, I've been trying to take things more slow. You know what I mean? For myself, I want to be more healthy, more aware, take more time, don't rush. I'm always rushing. Entrepreneurs in New York City are always like a million miles per minute. And it's one of those things where you just got to take your time with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got to take your time with it. You got to do your due diligence and keep it rocking.
Earlier, you also were mentioning like trying to find the balance between like not overworking yourself, especially as an entrepreneur. Like what are the things that kind of keep you grounded, and like kind of going back to the basics whenever you feel like you are a bit overwhelmed or like stressed out or anything, when you kind of, I mean, you're on the go a lot, right? So kind of slowing down, like what are those things? Who are those people that keep you grounded?
Yeah. I would say for me, the things that work, because I like trying things. If you don't try, you don't know, right? Something that works for me is my morning routine. It's been hard for me to go to the gym, but I love going in the morning for a run in the gym to control the environment, to control temperature, and I'm running at my own pace, right? I pick the pace. So I like running at the gym. It makes me feel productive in the morning. I clean my body, I cleanse it, right?
Yeah.
And I wake up feeling brand new. I'm energized. It keeps me going. You know what I mean? I come back home, take a shower, make breakfast. So I take interesting fun fact. Everybody clowns me for this. I take a shower before the gym, and then I take another shower after.
That's fair.
I like feeling super refreshed when I'm running.
Yeah.
Insanely refreshed. Nothing on my body, right? Then I go home, take another shower, I make my breakfast. I make an avocado toast, or I make an omelet. And I make a green juice, and then I might make a cup of coffee as well. But that's just my morning routine. I enjoy it. I talk to whoever I want to talk to. If I want to be on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. If I don't want to be on Instagram, I don't. But it's my time. I spend it however I want. I might read a little. It's been tough to do that lately because we've been blowing up. The Kickstarter popped off. We're getting a lot of new clients. There's a lot of things going on, but that's what works for me. Not rushing, taking my time, finding time in the morning to do my own thing, to prepare myself for the day. I'm eating my toast and I'm looking through my calendar. Okay, I have this. I have a 1 o'clock. I have a 2 o'clock. I have Elijah coming in. You know what I mean? Like I'm mentally prepping myself.
Yeah.
I know what to expect. I'm never surprised. So I tell people, if you don't send me a calendar invite, it might not happen. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing I do when I wake up. I look at my calendar, and if you don't send me the invite, it's not happening. You know what I mean? I've had people arrive at my office. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm in like North Jersey. It's like, what do you mean you're here?
No.
You never sent me the invite. Oh no. You know what I mean? But that's my system. So organizing myself, I organize my time. I take things a little slower now. I recently just started dating somebody. She's always like, yo, you should do this, you should do that. You shouldn't do that. You should take things a little more slower. You know what I mean? Sometimes it takes somebody from the outside to see your life and be like, yo, maybe you should switch that.
Yeah, that's always how it usually happens, is like it takes, a friend, your family, or
Right.
your significant other to kind of you know, remind you of like, yeah, I think you're being too hard on yourself, or because we never really see that within ourselves. Because, but that's the thing that I like about, I think the last year, a lot of people have been more self-aware and have been able to kind of look more inward within themselves over time.
Right.
Because before, I feel like everything was just like very passive and just like, well, we're not really focused on how are we doing. Like, what does my life look like when I am at my healthiest, or when I'm, you know, slacking on my routine or anything like that. So it's good that you have people to hold you accountable and kind of not even remind you, but even show you kind of the different ways that you can probably improve your life routines and everything like that.
Right. I agree. Yeah, and you know, earlier I blanked out on something and I just remembered what it was. But it's like social media could be very time consuming. Like, I'm all about social. Like, I've built a business out of social media. Yeah. I built a personal brand out of social media. I did 60K on Kickstarter off of social media. You know what I mean? So I've been actually taking it easier on social media. I think it's very time consuming. It takes a lot of your brain. You could literally sit there for 2 hours and not notice it. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Like I literally scroll through DMs like, yo, I'm expected to reply to 100+ people. No, there's no way. You know what I mean? And for me, I thought about it like, I don't really know if I want to invest so much time into social media. I might take it down a bit. But I realized it's like, I love showing people my journey. I love telling people, if I did it, you can do it too. Like, yo, if you want to be a hustler, wake up at 5 a.m. I have to wake up at 5, but you don't. But just figure it out for yourself. Or you want to go to the gym, wake up at 5. Gym opens at 5, wake up at 5. Like, people always want to do something, but they don't want to sacrifice something for it. Yeah. They just want to hand it to them. You know what I mean? So I was thinking about taking it slow on social media, and I'm going to re-strategize how I work on it, because I think sometimes we get lost in these virtual worlds. But I look at the power of social, and I look at the Kickstarter, man, and I was like, wow, we really raised $60,000 from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever you want to call it, emo, blast, you know, and I saw the potential that it has in a good way, right? Like, I'm going to be able to build a spot in the South Bronx and build equity and provide jobs and opportunities from social media. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. And the kids from the Bronx like me, we don't really have capital. We don't really have money. Because we're raised in a marginalized community, right? We never had rich parents or rich uncles, aunts and aunties, right? We never had that, or I never had that. Maybe there's people out there who do. But for me, it was that sense of like, how do I create capital? How do I make a sustainable business that actually produces money and profits? And then things like Kickstarter are the blessings of it. You know what I mean? And that's all a product of social media. Yeah,
I always, I mean, like, I'm not sure how, like what you believe in with this sense, but I've always thought like things that like really good things that happen to people, or like it's kind of like the universe knowing like you're gonna pay it forward. Like, that's why you know, we're kind of granted these opportunities. Not only obviously we work for them, and like obviously we can manifest things and all that stuff, we also have to apply the work. But I also think like the reaping of those benefits is also like kind of given to those that know that they're going to pay it back. And I'm pretty sure I was listening to some podcast, or I was listening, like, I'm pretty sure Pharrell said something along that, because he's always about giving back to the community and like paying it forward, sharing the codes, you know, like because if we have access to that information, or like how to show like someone, you know, the steps to take and like help someone, that's like our duty in this world. Like that's what we should be doing. So I love that, you know, that's one of your main goals, is to create jobs in the Bronx and provide those opportunities for people. So if you're able to talk about it, like what does the timeline look like for the shop?
It's confidential. No, okay. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's how we can end it. It's like confidential.
No, it's confidential. Top secret. What is it? Back talk. What is it? The DJ Kaya thing.
Oh, I don't know.
Confidential. I don't know. But it was a funny thing back then when Snapchat was a thing. Right now we're aiming for the fall. I don't know when exactly in the fall, but we're looking to do the grand opening in the fall. So we're gonna build it out through the summer. I really want to take my time with it. I hate rushing things.
Yeah, you should.
I think anything that's rushed just does not come out right. You know what I mean? Or as good as it would be, or it would have been. So we're taking our time with it. We're gonna build it throughout the summer, and then our plan is to open it in the fall and get it on and popping. So that should be very fun. It's the main thing is just follow the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter is over. But on that same page, we're gonna post all the updates. Yeah, of course. We're gonna post them on social media. But there's not much I can say, right? But I would say our goal is to do it open it in the fall. Signing off, just tell everybody the social media handles and where they can find you, and on the website also to purchase your coffee as well. Gotcha. Yeah. So our social media handles are Don Carvajal Café Don Carvajal Café, right? Or Don Carvajal Café. However you want to take it in. So you can find us on those handles: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. And then you can find us at doncarvajalcafe.com. That's pretty much where you can buy your beans, your cold brew, if it's local delivery or anything like that. And and check us out.
Awesome. Well, Hector, I'm super excited for you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'll be there at the grand opening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you.